Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So I have a couple trailers for The Flash and Supergirl that I'm going to break down, as well as talk a little bit about Supergirl episode 2. So I'm going to do Supergirl stuff first, and then I'm going to do The Flash. Here we go.
This train is a gift for National City. Get people out of their gas guzzlers and accepting of clean, affordable transportation. It has to be perfect.
Hello. I'm looking for someone with a background in nuclear fission. No volunteers? How about you? Stop!
It's okay. Everyone keep calm. It's gonna be all right. You don't need to hurt anyone.
I need this man.
From the looks of things, what you need is a mechanical genius. Compared to me, that guy's a dope. Don't take him. Take me.
Supergirl.
I'm gonna go talk to him.
And if he doesn't want to talk?
Then I'll punch him real hard until he falls down. That always seems to work.
So a lot of you might be familiar with Reactron from the comics. He's been a huge Supergirl villain, huge Power Girl villain for a long time. Originally in the classic Supergirl comics, he debuted as a mutant. That's where his powers came from. His power is to generate radiation, like he generates blasts of pure radiation. Later in the comics, they give him different types of kryptonite just to modify the way he's able to fight Kryptonians. So he gets powered with green kryptonite, it's very deadly. He gets powered with gold kryptonite, it takes their powers away briefly, you get the idea. He was a really big character during the Superman New Krypton storyline. Obviously that was a big Brainiac story mostly, but he appeared in a big part of it. So if you want to read a good Reactron story, just go back and read New Krypton. In the context of the show, because Maxwell Lord is going to be the big bad of the show, he might be the way Reactron gets energized with kryptonite. We see Supergirl punching the shit out of him. Obviously, he's already very powerful without kryptonite, but I'm wondering if he's going to get supercharged at the end of the episode. Just looking at this clip, it's kind of hard to tell if Maxwell Lord knows who he is, but he's putting himself out there as incredibly smart, like, please take me. There's no way I'm a powerful telepath that'll be able to mind control you. You can imagine the direction the show is going to take with this. Maxwell Lord mind-controlling villains to go up against Supergirl when he wants. Most of the Maxwell Lord clips that they've posted show nothing of his abilities, just that he's really smart, he's a tech billionaire, but I definitely think that we will see him use his power in some subtle way. You know, maybe in like the end teaser, probably not right away. When we first meet him, they're probably just going to put him forward as a normal person. Typically when they design shows like this, they understand that a lot of people have read the comics, but most of the time they make it for a more general audience, so they probably won't immediately tip their hat that he's a telepath. But episode 2, Hank Henshaw, glowing red eyes, what does that mean? There are two big possibilities. One, Hank Henshaw is really true to the comics, and he will be Cyborg Superman. Or two, he is Martian Manhunter in disguise. It's just that every single time Martian Manhunter shows up on a TV show, either animated or live action, his eyes glow red just like that. But the thing is, they gave him the name of a very notable Superman villain, so changing that and making Hank Henshaw Martian Manhunter would be a huge WTF, unless it's Martian Manhunter just disguising himself using a pseudonym. He's not the real Hank Henshaw. So I'm going to go ahead and be optimistic about it and say that yes, this is the Cyborg Superman Hank Henshaw, although he may or may not have Kryptonian DNA. Like, I'm assuming that he does not, because he had that kryptonite knife and it did not hurt him. And just to throw a little more gasoline on Cyborg Superman theories, he's a really dark character compared to John's typical personality. Martian Manhunter's personality tends to be a little bit more opaque. He's kind of the straight man that the Flash bounces jokes off. Like, the Flash is like the hyperactive, jokey person. Martian Manhunter is always the person that reacts to that with blank faces. So until we get some more evidence, I'm going to go ahead and say that he is the Hank Henshaw from the comics, and they haven't radically changed his backstory and turned him into another superhero. But if you do want to believe that he's secretly Martian Manhunter, then, I mean, you wouldn't be wrong. Like, there isn't proof that he is not. But just to speak about the series in general, I like the direction that it's going. I think they've already addressed some of the complaints that you guys have had about the pilot. Just that it got a little bit preachy, but I mean, that's the way pilots tend to be a little bit more over the top than regular episodes. Just based on the tone of comments across the first season of The Flash, it took about the first half of the season. Like, by the time we got to episode 8, like the big Arrow Flash crossover, that's when people started to go crazy about The Flash. During those first couple of weeks, people were still kind of iffy, so I feel like Supergirl is doing a good job of picking up momentum. and it's still like 4 times as popular as most other TV shows. Even if half those people stopped watching it, it would still be way more popular than almost everything else on TV. So if you really follow ratings, which I don't think is a good idea, Supergirl's still incredibly successful, but I don't necessarily look at that when I'm looking at shows to watch. So just moving into Flash territory, I'm going to play this Zoom clip from episode 6. This is part 2 of last week's episode. It's a two-parter for those that didn't know.
Who exactly came up with this terrible idea?
Okay, it's not a terrible idea.
We make Zoom think that Linda is Dr. Light and use her to draw him out.
It's too dangerous, right?
Maybe if she didn't scream every time she fired.
Take my emblem, throw it through the breach. Zoom will come to collect my body, and we can trap him.
So the big deal here, and especially with some of the images that they put forward, is that Zoom looks just a little bit more muscular than Grant Gustin, even though they're similar size. So those of you that want to believe that it is secretly Barry's dad, it's Henry Allen, you would not be wrong. That's actually a pretty good pick. And there was this quote that Joe West and a couple other characters had last week that I think was really important. It's not murder if it's your doppelganger. So I know a lot of you after the first 2 episodes were asking, what's the deal with Barry killing these metas? Because it looked like Sand Demon died, just for instance. I don't necessarily think the Flash is on this murder arc, but when Dr. Light said it again too, she's like, I have to kill her. It's not murder if it's your doppelganger. It just got me thinking about Zoom. Like, what if Zoom is Barry and Barry is going to be presented with the idea of having to murder himself? Doesn't that seem like a big CW type twist? CW shows tend to be really big on drama, and what's more dramatic than having to kill yourself? Maybe having to kill your father. That's why I really like the Henry Allen idea, and I think it's a little more cliche to make the hero the villain. For those of you that don't watch way too much TV, I'll go ahead and say a hero fighting his darker self has been done so many times across history. Almost every single big genre TV show has had an episode where the hero has to face a dark version of himself. I'm not going to be super upset if Zoom is Barry, like that's not going to ruin it for me or anything, but I think it'd be more exciting if it were his dad, if it were John Wesley Shipp. And just on my list of like really awesome Zoom choices, I feel like it'd be really awesome if it were Wally West. But I feel like the actor that plays Wally West is also like really lithe and really thin, just like Grant Gustin. And the actor in this suit, like whoever they have in this suit, looks way more muscular than that. And just to address the Eddie theories, I know a lot of you guys want to see Eddie be the villain because he was kind of like the Hunter Zolomon character in season 1. That's why everybody thought he was going to be Cobalt Blue or he was going to be a version of the Hunter Zolomon character from the comics. But Rick Kuznets is actually a main cast member on another show on a different network. So I just think logistically it would be a nightmare to try and have him on the show. But I do think he'd make a good version of a Reverse Flash at some point. If they want to do Cobalt Blue, they can always do him in the future. So what's going to happen is we're going to have to like reevaluate our theories after we get a bunch more Zoom scenes. But I think after this episode, we'll have a much better idea about who he is. Just listen very carefully to his dialogue when he speaks. Most of the time, they'll let slip things that will foreshadow the future. Like it's just written that way. That's the way comic books are written. Just because my friends got married this weekend, so I'm running a little bit behind just because I had a lot of real world stuff going on. I'm going to cut the Q&A short, but I will name this week's giveaway winner. So congratulations to Brennan Burgess. You win a Reverse Flash ring. Just be sure to private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact info. And then I will start a new round of the giveaway whenever I post my Flash video on Tuesday. But what's going to happen next is if I can't get Game of Thrones out before Walking Dead tonight, I'll post it on Monday. So just look out on Facebook and Twitter for updates on when everything is posting tonight. If you don't know where links for like my Facebook and Twitter and all stuff like that is, they're like way down at the bottom of the description. But while you guys wait for all that stuff to post, you can click here for the International Star Wars trailer I just posted, and you can click here for this week's episode of The Flash and Arrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.